The students who come to Oglethorpe are generally really intelligent. Now, I'm about to discuss and show some really stupid things that they have done and think and say. But I don't want to give you a false impression. A lot of the students who are there, they actually belong there. They do earn it. They are actually really intelligent. My attacker was brilliant. Not only is she a brilliant film director and editor, she's a brilliant writer. She's natural with languages. She's really talented. But she's a terrible person. And a lot of that is sort of, I want to say bred into them, but like, they're sort of conditioned into getting whatever they want. And, they are the 1%. And it's really ironic because the theme of the social aspect of the university and the theme of the political part of the university is that it's a liberal arts university. The president of the university, President Shaw, fashions himself a bit of a politician, has sent emails to the entire student body that were political in nature, supporting his left-leaning views that I don't necessarily disagree with, for the record. And a lot of the student body leans in that way very, very heavily. And what makes that ironic and almost perverse is that a lot of what the left is supposed to represent is sticking up for the poor, the disenfranchised, making the world more equal. And Oglethorpe, as sort of an engine, is not that. It is very much something that exists as a place that if you're wealthy, you send your kids, and they get all these wonderful connections, and they continue to climb up the economic social ladder, whereas most people like me, there was one other student who was from Albany, and we were both surprised that we were there. And we were awestruck by what we were surrounded by. And the other part of it is the ignorance too. While there's a front-facing nature to the inclusiveness of the school, there's a lot of racism, and it's not the racism that you think. There's a lot of racism towards those who are poor, despite what the ideals on the left are supposed to generally espouse. Most of the students believe earnestly that poor people just need to work harder. Things you would usually hear from the right. That poor people deserve to be poor. They're generally afraid of poor people. They're terrified often to go outside of the Brookhaven bubble and venture anywhere else in Atlanta. And Atlanta is a very safe city now. It used to not be. And there's areas that are not safe, south and east Atlanta. Going south beyond ITP is not necessarily safe, but large amounts of the city have become incredibly safe, especially compared to the rest of the country. Midtown is incredibly safe. The worst thing that will happen to you if you go on MARTA in Atlanta is you might be accosted by a homeless man who wants money. And that's it. That's what most people deal with. It's an incredibly safe city, and most of these kids are so sheltered. And the professors and faculty and administrators, too, are so sheltered that they're terrified to go on MARTA. They're like, you brave MARTA? You brave public transportation? I'm like, yeah, it's the bus. Who cares? It's ridiculous. So people whose majors and reasons to exist, supposedly, are to champion the cause of the common person, are too afraid. It is beneath them to step into public transit. It's absurd. But the other part of it is what they do to sexual assault victims like myself. And it's not just me, but what happened to me is like extreme because I was a man who was sexually assaulted by a girl. But they've done it to other victims too. Victim blaming is like the modus operandi of the administration of that school, particularly Dean Hall. She is devious as far as they call her the brick wall. If you want anything done, she just her job is to find new and inventive ways to not do her job. It's incredibly frustrating if you have a real serious issue of any kind. And then she'll pretend to be your friend for 1 or 2 sessions with her, and then she'll come back with a, "Aren't you confused? Do you not remember what happened? That's wrong. That doesn't sound like him. He wouldn't do that. She wouldn't do that." All the time. Same story from anybody who's run across her the wrong way. And then she'll bring your attacker in the room. Did it to me. Not my attacker, actually, just one of the harassing students. But in other instances, other students told me about it being their attacker. And then suddenly be on the defense to make you not make noise, to bury the problem.
Facebook, regardless if it's a private message or not, is a public platform.
Right, so there's the court system and those.
And when you're all alone, especially if you're in your early 20s and you're a traditional student, you don't have a lot of life experience, and especially further if you've lived an incredibly sheltered life and you've never had to fight for your own rights, it's really easy to get railroaded by her. And it's really easy to get railroaded by Dean Palder, who will get up in your face and just, aggressively occupy your space and anything you have to say. And they work sort of like good cop, bad cop on students who, not students who do bad things, but students who report bad things. And that is the scariest part of this, and why I think I'll probably title the video "Oglethorpe is not safe," because it's not safe. If there's a serious problem with a student, if a student seriously was going to shoot the school up, they're not going to do anything about it until it's too late. I'm going to tell you this right now. I had threats of physical violence hurled at me, and people joking about me being shot. People who own firearms, which is not a problem, and I've owned firearms in the past, so I'm not on the anti-gun bandwagon by any means. But students who owned firearms near or on campus, who had all the hallmarks, psychological traits, and threats of action, including joking about Columbine. I'm going to see if I can dig up those conversations. I may not have them anymore, but we'll see if I can put those on screen. I might not have those anymore. But joking about the Columbine shooting openly, and then, destroying other property, being isolated, doing drugs, and withdrawing. All of the signs of someone who would be a shooter. Yeah, they've been reported, and they did nothing, but they punished the people who reported them, and mostly me. And that's what this is about. It's about punishing me for destroying people's images, because image is the most important thing if you're wealthy. It's your currency, because at a certain point, and there is a numerical factor into that. At a certain point, your wealth is you don't actually have to kind of work. Or if you do work, it's like building a business. And that's actually kind of a logical loop a lot of wealthy people are in. And it's like, well, I work really hard and I earn this. And they do. And frankly, I've met a lot of the parents of students and students themselves who manage large amounts of money. And they do work really hard on passion projects and, the engines that drive their money. So I'm not saying they're not necessarily hardworking, but one of the problems that they don't recognize is that when you have when currency resource is no longer the issue, the currency among the elite is image, and the focus becomes protecting that image as opposed to cultivating a good person. So let's talk a little bit about how the students have treated me and what it was like to be on that campus a little bit before and then after I reported my sexual assault. So when things were good, they were really good. I said that as much in the podcast. I thought I met a group of students, and they were a bit on the younger side. A lot of them are early 20s, but some of them were non-traditional students. Some of them are mid-20s, late 20s, really close to my age. I started Oglethorpe when I was 30. So the generation gap really wasn't there. We had a lot of the same interests: video games, comic books, D&D, that sort of thing. And that sort of thing's at abundance. I mean, a school that's known as Hogwarts is going to attract people who play D&D, right? But yeah, I thought I'd found some really good friends. I told them about parts of myself that I had not shared with anybody back home, not even some of my best friends. Parts of my sexuality. I'm a straight man, but I am in the BDSM community, and I was more open about that than most people, but I really opened up to this group of people because, again, acceptance is like the huge thing at that school. Like they have like the word acceptance on signs sometimes, and whole clubs dedicated to this sort of we accept anyone and everyone, and we're trying to make a better world sort of deal. I look back on it, and there was a lot of signs that these people were toxic, but especially in retrospect. But that's the part that I think I missed the most, is that I felt like I belonged for the first time in my life. When I was popular on that campus, I would walk around that campus, and it would almost be exhausting how many people would say hi and they were glad to see me. It was great. It was bright and wonderful and awesome. And if I could, rub a magic lamp and have one wish, it wouldn't be $1 million or whatever. It would be that. I want that back. And that, more than anything else, is what was attacked intentionally by the other students, and then eventually the administration got in on it too. Yeah, I was very, very popular on campus, and because I was an older student who came from a rough place and had life experience, people came to me with their issues, and that's when the cracks started to form, and I started seeing some of the darker parts of the university where they were not doing anything about sexual assault. But after I reported it, things started to change. At first, when I broke up with my ex-girlfriend, her circle of friends were very supportive of me. And I actually chastised them about this. I told them not to do this. They refused to talk to her. They abandoned her as sort of a friend group. And they were supportive of me. And they tried to find me a girlfriend, which was kind of hilarious. But I appreciated the effort, to the point where I actually did go on a date with a girl that they set me up with. Or rather dared me to ask the next girl who I spoke to out. And I did. We had a lovely time. But I really cherished that sort of kinship that I had with people. But after I had reported it formally, a couple of weeks went by and people stopped talking to me. Before anything really actually happened after the assault, I could tell things were different. And going from the fall semester to the spring semester, going from 2016 into 2017, I could feel the presence was different on campus. Some of the students wouldn't even look me in the eye after a while. It was very bizarre. I learned later what had happened is a story I'd written to my therapist as a part of a therapy project. It got spread around campus. What I did not know until 2018, 2019 was that I didn't write most of the story. Somebody inserted like 10 to 13 pages of insanity in the middle of it. And it's really clear too. There's like a delineation of where it is, and it's not written in any sort of like the same style or format. Very bizarre.
Screenshot of a screenshot.
So
what's occurrence by the pool? Honestly, I think that's the document I sent to Dr. Fuller, isn't it?
I don't know if you did or not, but in this context is a story that it's in here, and it's another piece of evidence that's referenced at some point.
In there.
But it's a story that the respondent here is saying was the document being referenced in those group chats.
Okay. We're gonna have to go over that.
And then this context And so it's in the next paragraph of the
Yeah.
statement, is that it says he knew it to be about was the friend that sent the respondent's document. He decided this is what he submitted, saying here's where I received this document.
That's weird.
So,
Okay. 25, if you'd like to reference that to what
The story, yeah. But you actually have the document itself?
the document itself, yes.
Yeah, so where is that? Because I want to.
25.
25?
Mm-hmm. But I will note this was not, this document, item number 25 was not submitted by the respondent. It was submitted by,
Okay. So 25 is all of this. This isn't the same thing I sent Dr. Fuller.
Dr. Fuller wouldn't have been able to submit. I don't think it would have to be.
Right, but
Is this in the binder?
no.
Did you write this?
I don't recall a lot of this. Like some of it's stuff that's in what I wrote Dr. Fuller, but not the same thing. At least not that I remember. I'd have to look at the original thing, but it's longer.
The real occurrence by the pool is different.
Yeah.
Can you show the difference between the
Yeah, but I need to.
this and his?
I haven't looked at that thing in forever because I don't kind of want to, but I guess there's a typo too. There's a lot of details about me in here that I don't think I included in the original story. This is really weird.
Is this the story they did readings of?
I don't know what they did readings of. That's the problem. I just know they did readings. This is weird. This is really creepy. What the fuck is this?
If we want to submit the story that if it's different than this.
In that screenshot, there's two versions of it, and it's a screenshot of a screenshot.
Did you submitted the original to Dr. Fuller?
Yeah.
So she could forward what you sent her.
Right. And we can compare them because I don't. This is what.
yeah, so if you have a document that has the same title, you think?
I don't remember if I titled it. See, here's the deal. MLA.
Oh wait, that's the wrong thing.
Yeah,
That's the
see.
original thing.
Yeah, why would there need to be two versions of it? Why is one in a completely different file format that's incompatible with .cox, and why is it in MLA format?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can ask Dr. Fuller. If you sent the original one to her, she can forward it to you, so it could be compared.
Yeah,
against
this document comes up a bit more throughout.
Mhm.
So I think let's make note of that, and then as we get through, I think it's around the strategy.
Right.
But that could be a follow-up question So Pam Patterson is the person sending that screenshot.
Right.
So what evidence item number is that? Is that 17?
This is evidence number 25. Oh, is that? Yeah.
That is a clarification question with that.
Okay.
Can you account for?
And Dr. Fuller can send what she has with
Yeah, like
the correct one Dr. Fuller has.
Like I remember writing this because I'm writing this to Dr. Fuller about what it's like to have PTSD. But the rest of it, and it's numbered in chapters. And there's never like multiple. This is just like a thing that you told me to write.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why would I have like multiple? Do we have a file? Like an actual digital file?
That was submitted? Yeah, it was submitted digitally.
Did you check the metadata on it? Do you know how to check the metadata on it?
No, what are you asking?
Alright, so basically you take the file, you right click on it, you go to properties, you see who author is, you can see what computer it was written from. Mm-hmm. That data is saved in the file name itself. So you can find out who wrote this and who edited it.
But we also have, you sent your exact one to Dr. Fuller.
Right.
So all we have to do is compare Dr. Fuller's to this.
But here's my worry is that the file type is changed to normal.doc. One of the advantages of the upgrade to the x.docx is that it has more metadata and it tracks the individual changes. In the old version, you can't do the changes commenting. Those features they didn't exist in the 90s. So some of the information won't be there, but the author computer might still be in there. Okay. It can be modified. There are like programs that help you modify them. I would doubt that anyone else would know how to do that. It's not like.
But if Dr. Fuller's is different than this, we know it was. Modified.
Yeah. It's not.
It can just be compared.
It's not that it's modified. It's that who modified it and when is possibly accessible in the data.
Okay. Yeah, I can look into that. And if you could look into it, again, this will come up later as well, but the file that you sent.
Yeah.
That would be very helpful. Is this this is the right click on properties of that document.
So it just lists me. Great.
This here, and then it says content created February 24th, 2017, about 2 years ago.
It's not, and it's .doc, so it's not going to have any of the when it was modified, like actually all the stuff in it.
Yeah, looks like
wait, the computer?
Yeah.
It's an Oglethorpe terminal.
Right.
That's weird. Why wouldn't it be on my left?
I'm happy to print this and put this as part of the addendum.
Yeah.
So I can add this details page of the document if that reads over the reference.
All right.
Well, if you emailed it to Dr. Fuller, she wouldn't have to send it. You could just forward the email.
I was
send her. Yeah.
It'll have to be from your, because Dr. Fuller, anything you would send her would be looking at.
Yeah, the computer name would be Oglethorpe if we're using the computer in the domain, But if it were from like my laptop, it would be whatever the computer name of my laptop is, which you can't change once you set it.
But for a school that preaches critical thinking, these students had very little of it, and nobody questioned that it came from me. It just sort of proved that I was a creepy, no good bad guy. And and a lot of people on the right, and a lot of people who are very frustrated with feminism right now, and I totally get why. And I'm not saying I disagree with all of that wholesale. I absolutely get it. I'm definitely in the middle of it. So I often argue that you have a very valid case in many of the outreach groups that I'm in, and that you guys should be listened to. But because I was, I appear white. I'm actually not 100% white, but most people don't care about that. I look like a white nerdy dude, and I'm older dude. I am the enemy to a certain subset of people on the left, and that is a large chunk of the university, and that's just confirmed their worst suspicions about me. They always had in the back of their head, and it was really easy to paint me as a creepy, no good bad guy. And so they were reading these rape fantasy stories in the dorms. They were inviting people over to drink beer. I'll supply the beer, and we'll read this crazy story. And there's more than one, I assume, because I was given the title of one of them, and that was not the one that I finally received in the Title IX that I had against one of my harassers. So I assume that more than one was written. I just have never had a chance to read them. But it totally ruined my reputation on campus. It went from the circle within Oglethorpe that I was with absolutely being afraid of and hating me, to almost the entire student body after a while. It was a very isolating experience, and then that was doubled with the fact that I had been made homeless. And part of the reason why I was made homeless was because the students I was staying with, for their own purposes, they wanted to do drugs. They're stupid college kids, right? One of them wasn't doing drugs. One of them made his own alcohol still. And that was not only against the law because he was underage, it was against the conduct codes of the university. And I had reported both of them, and they were mad, and they felt like I was an extension of their parents, and I was supposed to be, but I'd actually not. I didn't do that part of the job very well on purpose. I made a decision, and I was like, you guys are adults. How about, unlike everybody else, we actually treat you like adults for 5 minutes, and maybe you can manage your own lives. And they couldn't. Most of the students there can't. It's actually really sad. Again, really intelligent group, but what they need is like life experience, and they have none. They're caught in a persistent state of arrested development, where they've gotten everything they wanted their entire lives, and they're one of the jobs you can get on campus. You can work the front desk at the museum, and old people go to the museum. Old people and me, And I love our museum. Our museum's great. I got art donated there. I was really proud of that. I love the museum curator. He's a great guy. But the job is like the easiest job on campus. You sit in a desk, and old people ask questions about the art. And you don't even have to know what the answers are. You can just go, the curator's not here. Read the description thing. I accept donation money. But one student that I knew that was a part of the old friends group, it was too stressful for her. She couldn't handle it. And I was like, really? You just kind of sitting there. She couldn't handle the stress. She couldn't do it. It was really sad. And I have no idea how any of these people will operate in the real world. And then to any of the audience there thinking that, that's how justice will karmically be served, they won't be able to. These people have so much money that they never have to work in the real world. That's the thing. Like, no, they can just hide in a basement and post mean things about me on Reddit and on Tumblr for the rest of their lives. They can do that. They don't have to work. And the ones that do have to work a job, even though they have backing, will be given cush jobs from their family's connections where they can be idiots. They are the future assholes you hate that gets the promotion and screws up everything all the time and doesn't work and doesn't show up to work. That's who they are. It's really sad. They're really brilliant. You know, if they could focus that talent with some real world experience, they could go really far and do good things. But they don't. That's the part that's missing that actually really needs to be instilled. That is missing, and it's the parents' fault. But there was an opportunity by the university here to sort of supplement that has been missed, which is one of the sadder things. In a way, they're also the victim of the system of Oglethorpe, even though they've made my life a living nightmare. But once my reputation was thoroughly ruined, I was absolutely isolated. This started to affect my academic success because, you know, being a part of clubs and stuff like that is actually sort of mandatory if you want to get into some really prestigious, you know, graduate level stuff. Not just like clubs like chess club, but like clubs like, you know, the movie club actually made movies and just watch movies. And the school has resources to get like high-end film equipment. And it would have been great to say, hey, I like helped direct and write a movie, you know, and that could be on my resume. And it would look really good. Maybe I could use that to make documentaries later because I'm into history. You know, like those are the things that open real doors. And, you know, I joined the club, and then as soon as everyone learned who I was, and they came onto campus, and the old group, and, you know, talked to the people who was in the club, they, you know, blackballed me out of basically participating at all, in a very backhanded kind of way. And then when one would confront me, they just, you know, wouldn't invite me to come and change dates of things and stuff like that, which was really sad because I had a lot to offer. Through my misadventures, I had actually become friends with a producer in Atlanta who wanted to get into teaching, and I could have like gotten them a connection, but they didn't care because I'm the bad guy. And I'm the bad guy because I accused a girl of sexual assault. Because only men can be predators. It's the ultimate prejudice there. And it's a prejudice that's held by the administration as well as the student body. Dean Hall and Dean Palder are both women. And Dean Palder comes from a sociology background. And I read through some of her, when she was a professor, I read through some of her reviews. It was really sad because it seemed like she was really open-minded. Though she totally carried a torch for aggressive feminism. It seemed like she was more open-minded. And her job function at Oglethorpe is she's basically the bulldog for the elite now. It's how far she's fallen. And she kicked a poor man out of his home because he reported that a group of students were trying to effectively harm themselves with drugs. Because that's all I wanted. I didn't want them punished. I wanted their parents to know so they could get into like rehab. You know, I took one of the kids who was harassing me and organizing the harassment, and the guy has hardcore OCD. Yeah, his parents are like, yeah, there's nothing wrong with you. So he knows he has it. He's talked about him having it, but he wants to protect the image because that's the whole deal. And I tried so many times to be like, all right, how about you just apologize and tell me what you did was wrong. Give me the information to the other students so we can get them to knock it off. And then how about we get you some psychiatric help? And you know, they pulled all the stops to damage my reputation, and the university pulled all the stops to damage my reputation and protect him from any responsibility. And that's really what this is about. Like, and Dean Hall actually said as much in one of our meetings. She said, I wish I had this recorded. I have a lot of our meetings recorded. I don't have this recorded. She basically tried to level with me. She's like, don't you understand my job is to protect these kids from responsibility? Their parents are wealthy and they're the ones who fund this school.